Darwin, many scientists
Puppies, every word of this video is true.
that animals produce after their own kind. But as the evolutionary perspective was given more authority,
which is ridiculous, because it's not like, you know, genetics or the fossil record or geology ever really bore them out in that whole theory.
Into another.
Now we're told that the way evolution proceeds is damages due to some outside influence like cosmic rays cause the cell to make mistakes. We call those
No, I believe you're describing the Fantastic
Gradually,
Four.
one organism is supposed to have changed into another organism.
Yes, the
all
primordial
the way from a
sea of
single cell
dick.
to invertebrates like clams or starfish, and then the vertebrate fishes, the amphibia, the reptiles,
Why is the
birds,
background on fire?
mammals, and
Oh
finally
shit, it's
man.
the cast of Designing
Here
Women.
we are now.
Shoulder pads ahoy!
Scientists know the genetic code prevents one life form from changing into another kind. So they speculate
colors,
that
Duke,
mutations
the
or
colors.
damages to the DNA must
I
be
am
responsible
colorblind,
for
kid.
evolutionary processes. Again, they believe this in spite of the observable evidence that no.
No, again, they believe this because of the observable evidence and processes. Dumb shit.
They can bring about small
Work.
adjustments in a
Always
particular
fucking work.
species, but no way are they able to change one kind of creature into another.
If evolution has really occurred, we ought to be able to see the evidence in the fossil record. After all, that's the record of the past. But if we look at that fossil record carefully, we see that there are no...
And if you look over here, children, you'll see lies after lies.
Ever changing into another. There's no transitional forms.
Oh, fuck, not that chestnut again.
God fucking... Do you guys read a fucking biology textbook ever? You can't even argue this shit properly, Napoleon Dynamite.
There are no interspecific transitional forms. Something that, of course, the creation model would have predicted and did.
The only thing the creation model predicts is that the Bible is always right, and if the evidence contradicts that, then the evidence must be wrong.
Yeah, for an example, just ask Galileo about that one.
Like we are now. But that doesn't usually stop my evolutionary colleagues. They will
Hey, Ray Comfort's dad, in order to be a colleague, you have to know what you're talking about.
Replete with these transitional forms.
There are myriad transitional forms. There's really no problem.
How do I get evolutionist attached to the end of my name? That would be awesome.
A lacking of
what, do they stop with these guys in parking lots or something?
More than sometimes we can cope with.
In fact, there are so many transitional forms between species that we must often fall back on statistical analysis to separate one from the other.
So the claim that there are no intermediates is simply a false claim.
During their interviews, several of these prominent scientists contradicted themselves, admitting that no transitional forms had been found.
Funny you don't show them contradicting themselves, you just say they contradicted themselves. That works both ways. Here, watch.
This entire documentary was made by former members of the Hitler Youth. Convincing, no?
Have a problem with. The geologic record is incomplete. It's incomplete because of erosion that has eroded things away.
One of the things that also makes it a little more difficult in the fossil record is the rapidity with which
Do you think his button says, ask me about punctuated equilibrium?
It doesn't leave many transitional forms behind.
Let's go to the British Museum of Natural History to the man who wrote the book there on evolution, Dr. Colin Patterson. I wrote to Dr. Patterson and asked him why he didn't put a single...
An engineer talking about evolution is not an argument from false authority at all.
Book on evolution. Dr. Patterson now, who has 7 million fossils in his museum, said the following when he answered my letter, quote,
Oh yeah, I'm willing to bet that that letter wasn't quote-mined at all.
Lack of direct illustration of evolutionary transitions in my book. If I knew of any, fossil or living, I certainly would have included them, unquote. Later, he said,
I put on women's clothing and dance only for
you. There is
you.
not one such fossil for which one might make a watertight argument.
Since Darwin's time, evolutionists have aggressively searched for...
Son of a... Get this fucking thing out! Come on, you goddamn fossil!
Even Darwin admitted that his own theory was worthless speculation without invaluable...
Can you not quote mine for like 5 goddamn minutes?
In collaboration with evolutionists, oil companies have drilled wells throughout the world, examining layers of the earth to depths...
A whole ocean of transitional forms underneath there that nobody can get at it except for me.
Not one
Thanks, Daniel Day.
transitional form has been discovered. Over the years, the research of geology and archaeology have also failed to produce evidence that supports evolution's claims.
This is fucking stupid. They're ignoring an incredible amount of evidence and keeping all of the science so fucking vague. They might as well say, gravitationalists have yet to show one shred of gravitation molecules to prove their claims. Or you can go, Christians cannot produce Satan-aluminum alloy, proving hell is real. The logic is fucking retarded.
That was, for all intents and purposes, intermediate between reptiles and birds. That was a triumph of his hypothesis.
Archaeopteryx,
shown here is footage of the only time a creationist has ever opened a textbook.
Not a reptile-bird intermediary, was the first of a number of deceptive schemes promoting evolution. Evolutionists misdated and misidentified this extinct bird, presuming it to be the missing link between reptiles and birds.
The best example of a transitional form that my evolutionary friends usually give is Archaeopteryx.
After they punch me in the face and call me Judy.
Recently, another bird has been found, dated by evolutionists, to be 75 million years older than Archaeopteryx. So therefore, Archaeopteryx could certainly not be the ancestor of the birds. Actually, evolutionists don't have
it totally could. Evolution is not a straight line. There are branches, diversions, regressions. You're a fucktard.
Delicately put as always, Lyell.
As the best evidence.
Archaeopteryx here is a good example of a transitional form because it shares characters which we ordinarily think of being typical either of dinosaurs. Archaeopteryx is right halfway between, and it's for this reason that many of us are inclined to call birds reptiles. The next time you have a Thanksgiving dinner, you can tell people that you're eating dinosaurs.
That's what made me so popular.
Reptiles are supposed to have converted their scales into feathers. Now,
yeah, they all went en masse, all the dinosaurs down to the duty-free shop and traded them scales in for some feathers, all right. That's how it happened.
Never been frayed out into the intricate design of a feather. There's never been anything found intermediate between the fold in the reptile skin and the feather of a bird.
Too bad you couldn't wait a decade and a half, asshole.
An animal's forelimb, good for walking or climbing, must have gradually changed into a wing.
Yes.
We have never found any fossils that show this in-between structure.
Isn't it embarrassing when reality butts in and proves you wrong?
And he could neither have walked nor flown. The whole idea is ludicrous.
Because no fossil records
Because if you say there's no evidence, that must make it true.
Dubious artworks are relied upon and exhibited as fact.
Hey, look, they're harvesting crunch berries.
Interpretations depict fish magically growing legs and
way less magical than turning someone's wife into a pillar of salt.
Creatures mysteriously turning into horses, and monkeys becoming humans.
No,
where non-existent transitional skeletons are needed to prove a point, skilled craftsmen substitute plastic and wooden models.
That's totally unlike the Creation Museum where they have humans riding Triceratops.
Real live Triceratops.
And actually, false information is being presented. You see, since the museums don't have the transitional forms, they have to make them up out of thin air.
Yes, one should never accept claims of creation that come from thin air.
With legs as an evolutionary link between whales and cows.
What is it with the whales and cow thing?
Berlinski! Several teeth. No leg bones.
Niles Eldridge at the American Museum said...
I'll tell you what Niles Eldridge said. He said, stop fucking quoting me out of context.
Little weasel man.
And your own
suck on those udders, George C. Scott, you motherfucker.
What the intermediate forms were.
When asked to come up with evidence that evolution really has taken place, evolutionists will frequently bring up very minor changes in living things, such as insects becoming resistant to DDT or insects changing color.
Can we see evolution taking place today?
Can we see you in a different tie, you George Carlin doppelganger, you?
One of the most spectacular examples, have you ever heard of the San Jose scale? San Jose scale is an insect that infects oranges. The thing has evolved to resist the pesticides that they were using on it.
This is not evolution.
But this is a bee that's gonna get you.
Small changes are totally compatible with the creation understanding of things.
That doesn't make it correct.
What we need to see is major changes, some type of an animal changing into another type of an animal, and this we do not see.
Because this llama is actually chewing on my eyeballs.